Hi, I'm Matt Shad. I'm an attorney and I teach other attorneys how to use AI. I want to talk to you today about writing. We write all day long. You may think of it just as maybe writing on a brief or a formal legal document or a long letter, something really well put together. But those are just the writing things that stick out in our mind. The entire day, from beginning to end, whether you realize it or not, you are writing, and you're more importantly, to be more specific, you're trying to take ideas and facts that are in your head, you're trying to process them, organize them, and get them out on paper or what passes nowadays as the virtual equivalent of paper. Getting the punctuation right, getting the syntax right, getting the proofreading right, okay? And you do this constantly, all day long. You do it every time you send an email. You have to do that. Every time you try to delegate something to somebody on your staff and it's in writing, whether it's email or text, you have to do that. And as lawyers, it comes up basically multiple times every hour you have to write. And most lawyers, we like to write. We're good at writing. We're good with words. We're verbal. But if you really think about what that means every day and how much time and how much mental bandwidth it takes, it's pretty remarkable, okay? And the ability to write really quickly and better, if you can do that, if you can save a lot of time doing it, then you can recapture a tremendous amount of time every day, put it to yourself or use it on cases or what have you. So let's sort of get down in the nitty-gritty a little bit about writing. There are sort of two barriers to being an efficient writer, kind of two costs I like to think of. One is the psychic cost, okay? Your brain's a computer. It's an incredibly powerful computer. And like any computer, it has a limited amount of capacity. And it can get tired, unlike a computer. Your brain can get fatigued. It can get tired as the day goes on, or based on lack of sleep or stress or anxiety. So this psychic cost is the amount of power, computing power, that your brain has to use to process your thoughts and turn them into something that other people can read. Now, sometimes it doesn't take much of that processing power. A quick 3-line email, something like that, it doesn't take much processing power. As you get longer, and you have to incorporate other sources like facts, or you got to pull things from other documents, or you have to organize your thoughts, it takes longer and longer. It takes more and more processing power, until you get to the point where if you're trying to write something like a brief, like a response to summary judgment, or you're trying to create facts for a demand letter, or you're trying to synthesize medical records into something meaningful or something you can use, or you're trying to draft a discovery or something like that, that takes a lot of power in your head, a lot of computing power. And I call that the psychic cost of writing. You have to think of the idea, you have to organize the idea in your head, then you have to come up with the right syntax, organize it, format it. And then there's the second cost, which I call the physical cost. So to write, you have to be physically in a particular certain situation. You have to be at your computer or whatever it is that you use to write. If you write with pen and paper, you have to have a pen and paper there. If you are doing it on a computer or whatever, you have to have a keyboard right there. In addition to that, you have to be in a place that's fairly quiet. Or you have to be able to get into a particular program, and it may take you a couple clicks. Once you're in that program, you may have to navigate to a certain part in it, like a case management program. That's the physical overhead. And that's a barrier between your thoughts that are up here and getting them in the format that they need to be. So you got this psychic barrier and you got this physical barrier. So when people have a writing project, and it's going to take a while, like say you have a discovery dispute, we put these things off because we know they're going to take a long time. I got to pull out the emails, I got to look at them, I got to synthesize them, I got to put pen to paper. Okay, so it's a problem. It's a problem. It's doable. We've done it our whole careers, but there may be a better way to do it, or at least a more efficient way to do it. So let me talk to you about my workflow and how I try to use the minimal amount of brain and physical capabilities that I have to get something that's up here into a written form. So I have an iPhone, okay? It's an iPhone 16, and in the most recent iPhones, in the version 16 and 17, they have some enhanced capabilities to voice memo. And I'm sure you've seen voice memo before. It's been on iPhones for as long as anybody can remember. But here's what's new and different. With the new Apple AI, if you hit that voicemail and then you click on that recording, you'll get an option that says view transcript and copy transcript. So what it's doing is it's making a real-time transcript of your conversation. And I'm not talking about the old text-to-speech like we all used to send texts, where it misspells stuff and there's no punctuation or anything like that. I'm talking about an AI-driven writing tool that knows what you're trying to say and will make corrections so that you don't get crazy stuff in it. Something that gets names right, and proper names and place names on a frequent basis. And it does this almost immediately. Like, there's no lag. So as soon as you're done talking and you hit copy, you've got a transcript of everything that you said. So this allows you to be creative, to not have to think in any particular order, to not have to dictate something as it would appear in a final work product, like we did in the old days when you had an assistant help you do dictation, or when you used a dictaphone or a tape recording device. You don't have to be that exact, and you don't have to be that organized. You can just talk. Then I copy that text and I paste it into the version of ChatGPT that's on my phone. Don't need a keyboard to do this, don't need to type, don't need to write. And I give a prompt to ChatGPT based on what I want to do with that. And I might say, and I don't even type it on my phone, I actually hit voice to text on my phone and use that for my prompt too. So very little typing involved. And I'll say, I've just dictated my thoughts on a motion to compel. I've outlined some of the discovery problems that have been present in the case and some of the dates. I'd like for you to create a letter for me to opposing counsel that creates a timeline of these dates I've given you in chronological order, and a request to work out this discovery dispute. And what I'm proposing is X, Y, and Z. Boom. See what it gives back to you. I guarantee you that you'll want to make some changes to it. You might want to change the tone and say, please make this less demanding, or make this more formal, or make this less formal. You might say, please incorporate language from the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure that indicate I'm trying to resolve a discovery dispute with this. You do anything you want to it. And you get the output that is the way that you want. You look at it. Now in ChatGPT, you hit copy. I send that email to, I post that into an email to my assistant and say, hey, can you take this and put it into a letter form for me? And that happens, and I'll get a copy of that letter, or I'll get a copy of the email or whatever. So in that entire process, I minimized both the psychic barriers and the physical barriers to doing what it was that I needed to do. I did not have to have my hands on the keyboard. I did not have to be around a computer. I was able to think freely, kind of brainstorm, riff, and then massage my output in ChatGPT. I just did this yesterday. and was able to get some work done incredibly quickly. And I'll give you the scenario, kind of the work scenario. I had some discovery that I was waiting to receive in a case from somebody else. I get the discovery, and even though they've taken forever to answer it, they're terrible answers. Vague objections, no substantive information at all. And so what I know is I'm going to have to write the dreaded Trial Rule 37. This is an attempt to resolve a discovery dispute letter. And those letters are a pain in the neck because you have to recreate each one of these answers that you think is insufficient, and it takes forever. You got to pull up the discovery, you got to see it, you got to retype it. It's just no fun, and you hate to do it. Well, I had this in front of me on the screen, and I'm just talking. I'm like, in interrogatory number 14, I've asked you X, Y, and Z. You responded with X, Y, and Z. I find this to be insufficient. These are relevant discovery requests, blah, 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 blah. I just kind of go through those, and I go through the request for production the same way. It probably takes me 5 minutes to do that. Whereas if I were to pull that out and I were to try to type it, it would have taken me at least half an hour just to get the draft of the letter. So in a very short time period, I was able to produce that polished letter. And in my workflow, everybody's different, and they have different tools available to us. I am lucky enough to have an assistant who can take these things that I give her and put it on the right letterhead, or put it in a good email format. So that last step of the journey, I have somebody who can assist me with that. But when I send that to her in an email, she just incorporates it into a letter or an email of her own, and it works very, very quickly. So I use this process dozens of times a day, and it really helps me with my writing. It's allowed me to be more creative and put more detail into it. It organizes things chronologically for me if I like. It will add comments or citations or something. It's very beneficial to me. And the only tool I need to do it is this, basically. There's other ways to recreate that workflow with other devices. There's other voice-to-text solutions. That's the one I find myself using right now because I have my phone with me wherever I am, essentially. So I don't even need to be at a computer or in front of something. If I have a random thought about a letter to a client that I want to send, I can just talk into this, and that little quick workflow, record it, transcribe it, put it into GPT, send it to my assistant, and it's done. And I am able to get out a tremendous amount of writing with that. The goal, to reduce the psychic cost and the physical cost of trying to get from an idea to a finished product. I hope this has been helpful. My name's Matt Shadd. I'm an attorney. I help lawyers use AI to be better attorneys. Thank you.